Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Doreen DeCivas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. Another end of the week. We're into November now. Wow, it's just been, this year is just going so quickly. I hope it's not going to a new Fun Fold for the week. And I have to say that this one was a little tricky for me. So I had a little bit of a challenge with it, and I'll show you why in a couple minutes. So tonight we are using, I've got to get something, I'll need to cut something, so let me just get what I am looking for and find my paper that I need to do the cutting. I'll get that in just a minute. You know, just when you think you're perfectly ready and then you realize you forgot something. Okay, so what are we using tonight? And I've got a little bit of a surprise for you too. All right, so I am going to use two dies from the Peace on Earth bundle. I am going to be using the Dove, and I'm going to be using these stars. So that's the first thing. So I'm just going to set this aside because I'll need it just to put away. Keep the Dove right there. I'm using the Words for Season dies, and this has a great collection of seasonal dies. I've got to get this onto a magnet card. I've got to order some though. I'm running low. Maybe if I take this piece of tape off, that will help. So I have here, we're using Christmas wishes. So we have Christmas and wishes. We have Halloween. We have New Year. We have Merry. What is this one? Holidays. Greetings. Autumn. Halloween. And Happy. So, and a label die. So you get all of these dies. So there's a total of 10 in this packet. It does coordinate with a stamp set, but I only bought the dies. I didn't feel I needed the stamp set in this case. And, of course, I have a second set that hasn't even been opened yet because it's time for another door prize. We're into December, and we're getting ready to work on making sure we're into November. I mean, we're almost to December, and I thought this would be a great die set to give away. So I have a brand new, hasn't even been opened, Words for the Season dies, and you're probably asking, how am I going to get those dies? How can I enter into the drawing? Well, I'm going to take the drawing from now until midnight Friday morning. I'm going to put all of the comments, all of the people who left a comment into one of those spinning wheels, and I'm going to spin the winner. And so I'm going to ask that this be just U.S. watchers. If you are an out of the country person who's watching, then I will send you a tutorial so that you'll have something to use as well. So you either can get a tutorial if you're out of the United States, or you get the dies if you're in the United States. Hi, Lynn. So Lynn just commented, so she is in the drawing. That's all you have to do. So a brand new set of the Words for the Season dies. Okay, I'm going to put mine aside, and then I'm using the Ornamental Christmas set, and I'm using some of the dies. I'm using some of the stamps to make our card. Tonight's card that I'm making for you is one that I have really been looking forward to doing for you. I've been planning this for some time, knowing that I want to, share with you this great card, and it's called a fan fold card. And I'm just standing a little bit away because I'm trying to look for where I laid my sheet of gold paper. And so this is a fan fold card. And okay, I'm just going to continue on because I am just not finding it. And we'll figure this out. I just don't know where I put it. I had it just a little bit ago. So anyway, let's go back. So this is a fan fold card, and this card was created all through mistakes. So I made a whole bunch of mistakes, and the card did not come out at all how I wanted it to come out. So let me show you the card that I created, and I'll tell you about all my mistakes. So this is a fan fold card. We have this piece here that creates the fan. We have a little separate cut on the front of the card, and in this case, those seasonal dies, the seasonal word dies, to show you how they can be use it. And I also have this beautiful dove in gold that I've done. So my mistake, I intended the card to be in this direction, and I intended to use a Christmas tree that was going to go right down here, and then use some of the other words to fit on the card. And then, as I was looking at it, I realized I cut my star paper in the wrong direction because it's directional. And so this really put me over the edge because I didn't really want to cut more paper. Because I don't like wasting paper. So then it hit me as I was doing all these different, holding it and looking in all different directions. And then I looked at it this direction and said, well, a fan card doesn't have to be like this. This is how you're going to see most of them. If you Google them, my fan card can be like this. And so this is how we're going to open it and use it. So let's go over what we have for supplies. And like I said, I'll have everything for you except my gold paper, which I will look for a little more. If not, we're just going to use a different color of the dove. So it's right in front of me. Let me grab it. So we're starting with, and I'm going to, as I tell you each side, I'm going to be doing something to the paper to get it ready. So this is a piece of thick, basic white cardstock. With all of the layers I'm putting on, you probably could get away with regular, basic white cardstock. But this piece is 5.5 by 8.5. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my trimmer out, and I'm going to grab a pencil. And I am going to put this, I know that my seam is right at 4 1/4. So I'm going to line this up at 4 1/4 so I know it's measured right. And I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to put a little mark right on in my paper cutter. And I'm going to cut from that 2-inch mark down to the right corner. Okay, so there's the cut for my card. Okay, that part is all done. I need to keep this because this piece is going to be part of my fan that I'm creating. So I'm just going to leave that right there. Then the next thing that I'm creating, that I need, I'm going to need 2 pieces of basic black cardstock. 1 piece of cardstock, well, both of them measure 4 by 5 1/4. One is going to go right here on the inside of the card. This one here, I'm going to excuse me, measure using the same directions I just did. I'm going to put a little mark at my 2-inch, and I'm going to do the same cut. I'm going to cut from that mark down to the corner, and I'm not going to need this, so I'm going to put it aside for right now. This piece is going to go right on the front. So we've got one of our fans or arrows, and we have our 2 pieces of black, which will be in those 2 places. All right. Next, I'm looking at my little cheat sheet. I have a piece of designer series paper. It's my stars that I should have cut this way, but instead I cut it this way so the stars are on the side. I'm going to do the same thing. This one measures 3 3/4 by 5. And remember, you don't need to be writing this down as I'm going along because I am going to put this in the comments and it will be in the description on my YouTube channel. So I'm just lining that up. I'm going to again make a 2-inch at the 2-inch point, and I'm going to line this up in my track of my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut that as well. And I am just going to put that aside too because that's not the size that I need. This piece is going to be going right on the top of my basic black. All right, so we've got those pieces. Now let's make the rest of our arrows. So the next piece is that I have I have 2 pieces that measure 1 3/4 by 5 and 1 1/2 by 4 3/4. So one is the designer series paper and the other one is the piece of black cardstock. For this one, I'm going to cut this at a diagonal. I'm not going to do any measuring, and I am going to go from the left top corner down to the right bottom corner. I only need one of these, but I am going to keep the other one because I can use it on another card. So like I said, I only need one of them. It is going to go right on top of this piece that we cut off the front of the card. And then I'm going to take this piece of DSP, which measures 1 1/2 by 4 3/4. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go from the left top to the right bottom, make sure it's lined up, and I am going to cut that as well. I only need one of these pieces. It's going to go right here on top of that, and the other piece I can keep for it will go right on top of that piece of black that I just cut, and I can have that for another card. Then the next piece that I need is, let's see, what am I going to do next? I have 4 more things that need to be cut. So I'm going to take a piece of basic white cardstock, and it measures, let me get the right one because I've got 2 here. It measures 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. Yep, this is the one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from the left corner to the right bottom. So top left corner to the right bottom. And I'm going to cut this at a diagonal. This is going to be for the bigger piece on the front of the card. So I can put this aside too because I can use it for another card. All right, so now I've got this piece started. Then I'm going to take a piece of basic black that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Do the same thing. Go to the top left, go down to the bottom right, and cut my diagonal. I can save one to go for another card, and this one's going to go right on top of this. And finally, I have my final piece of designer series paper, and it measures, where did I put it? 3 by 4 1/4. Yep, that's it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at the top left and go to the bottom right corners, cut it. I only need one piece for this card, but I can save the other piece as I was doing. So I have these all ready for another card that I can do. So I'm going to put those aside. And then this one is going to go right here on top. Okay, so we've got all of our cutting done. We've got our scoring done. Oops, I didn't cut one last piece. I'm sorry, I didn't see this sitting over here. And this is the final piece that we're going to cut. It is a basic white piece of cardstock, and it measures 3 3/4 by 5. And this one I'm going to do like I did at the beginning. So here I have my 3 3/4. I'm going to measure where 2 inches is and put a little mark. And then I am going to cut from that mark to the lower right corner as soon as I get it lined up correctly. There we go. And this piece is going to go inside the card. Okay. Now we're ready to start putting this card together. So there's a lot of different supplies for this, but I love how it turns out. Again, I don't know if I would make a ton of these for Christmas, but I will make a few. So let me just grab my tape. And it looks like I'm almost out. I might be out. So I am going to be putting this piece of the basic black onto that piece of basic white. I'm just going to make sure, I especially want to make sure I get those corners with some adhesive on it so they are staying in place. So this is making the larger fan in our fan fold. So there's that, and I'm going to put this piece of designer series paper on it. And it's going to go right here. You could use any designer series paper for this card. You could use any type of card you'd want to make. So this, you could make birthday cards, you could make just a bunch of different things. So this piece is all done. So I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm going to grab my smaller ones, and we're going to just put that all together too. So I'm just again going to add my adhesive. And we're going to add this. So again, this piece of white is what we cut off originally right from the front of the card. And so then we cut the black. These were the 2 small pieces of designer series paper. I mean, of black and designer series paper. So I'm just making sure I'm getting adhesive all the way around because I don't want it to come off. And this is going to go right on here. There we go. So now we have, so the fans are going to go something like this when we put it together. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Now let's put the front of the card together. So I'm going to start with the inside because I want to stamp a greeting, and I'm using the greeting from the Ornamental Christmas that says wishing you peace and joy, because I thought with the Christmas wishes that would go nicely. And I'm just doing this a little below the top, just so that I have room to write someone's name, and then I have a little bit of room to write a message. I also have the other piece of white inside the card that I can write the message. So this is going to go on to this card on the piece of black, just like that. And when it's in the card, that piece of white is going to cover it so you don't see it. So let's add this. And there we go. Let's change this. Remember, when you're changing, you want to check for any of that excess adhesive that builds up that you can pull out. I've got some on my hand right here, and I do it that on both sides. If it's really gunky, I take my I take an alcohol wipe pad and I use that to clean off all the adhesive. This seems pretty good, so let me just get the adhesive off my fingers so I don't transfer that to, oh my goodness, here's my piece of gold sitting right there in front of me. Isn't that the way? So we just have to cut that small little dove. And I have to tell you, I really had a hard time deciding how to decorate this. just because I had one thing in my mind, and a lot of times how I design a card is I kind of picture it in my head. And for me, that sometimes is a bad thing, because when it's not working out, I have a hard time getting past what I have in my head. And that was happening to me when I was working on this. But I did what I do when that happens. I don't know if you have a strategy when it's just not working. I walk away. So I walked away from it. I left it on my desk with all the pieces I had cut out, and this morning I decided before I went to work to look at it again and see if I could come up with something. So I didn't attach anything, but I came up with something. And then when I got home from work today, I put it together. And I still had a few issues that I was worried about, but I think it worked out and I'm happy with it now. I sometimes have to, I was bound and determined to use a Christmas tree, and that was my problem. I couldn't get past that. Okay, so that's going to cover up that section of where we cut. So now we're ready to put this together, and I'm just going to crease this again. Hi, Joyce. Definitely watch the replay, because I have an exciting announcement at the beginning of the video. So, but I'm glad you're joining us anyway. Okay, of basic black cardstock that we cut, except I just put it on Cricut, and that bothers me just as much when I cut the paper wrong. But like I said, cutting the paper wrong had me end up with something I wasn't even expecting, and that I was very happy with. And to be honest, I have not seen one fan card posted anywhere that is in the orientation that I'm doing mine in. So that's a plus. Okay, so this now is going to go right on the front of the card. Try to get those corners with some adhesive. It's easier on these bigger pieces. So now this is going on the front of the card. But remember, we're going to hold the orientation of our card like this. So now I have these two pieces that we put together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to match this corner, this little point, down to the point, the left-hand corner of the card. And when I put this up to the top, I want this piece to match the white up here. That way, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to have it end up coming over the side. So you want to line this up. By lining it up like this and matching those points, you will have perfect placement. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Now, I'm not going to put any adhesive up at this top part. So I'm going to start my adhesive down a little bit, and I'm going to put it on the same way I've been putting on the adhesive. I'm going to put a little extra in the corner because that really needs to stick down. And I'm going to put this in the corner, bring this up so it hits that piece. I'm going to make sure I have no adhesive here on the inside, and I don't, so that's ready to go. So I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. I'm going to be attaching it right in that point, and when I come up, I want it to be even on this piece, but I want to make sure it's not coming off the card, because then it's not going to really fit in the envelope well, and I don't want to bend it. So now that I don't put any of the adhesive at that top part, so I want to come down a little bit. And again, I'm going right to that point and putting this right over. I want this to be pretty even as I'm putting this on, and I want to make sure that that stays. So this is what, if you look, if you just Google fan fold card, this is what you're going to get, something that looks like this. But because I cut my paper wrong, we're going to turn it this way. All right, so the first thing I did was, and I just had to find my little envelope, because like I said, I was just cutting lots of things out. So I had tried both. Well, I showed you the trees already that I cut out, and I knew I wasn't going to use. So I have my wishes and my Christmas. So I am going to put my wishes right in this corner, and then this is going to go right here. The S is going to go a little bit onto that fan. That's okay. I just don't want my W to end up over the side. So that's going to go there. So I'm just using the natural contours of the card to place my greeting. And then I have the C for Christmas. I'm going to put the dove on afterwards. We actually still have to cut it. So I'm going to add my C there. And I'm going to take the rest of Christmas, and it's going to go right along here. So that's the first part I'm going to do. I have this really big dove that I cut out, but I think it's too big. I don't like, I like the smaller one better. I had looked at this. I actually tried to find a way to do both of them, but it didn't work. So I'm just going to set that aside. Now you see that the dies came out, and there's a reason they came out, because the little tops for the eyes are to use those and not lose them. So like I said, I used from the Peace on Earth with the doves. I cut out this type of star, and I had cut out the star from the dies with the Ornamental Christmas set, but I really felt that little one looked so much more like the stars, at least the kind of fancier ones, that I decided that I was going to use this to just add some detail right here on the black. So I'm just going to put a little dot of ink, and it's easier in this case to put the dot right on the paper where I'm going to put it, and then I can put my star. I can arrange it how I want it to be, and there we have that. Now this is something where you really need to have something to put the glue on so you don't make a mess. So I'm going to start with my wishes, and I am going to be putting a little glue on the backs of all of this. So just little tiny dots. You don't need a lot. This isn't a lot of paper. So there's the W. Now I could use my tweezers to add this on, or I can just use my fingers. And of course I know that it's going to get a little bit gluey. So I love that the C and the W just are really, the script is just really pretty. So I'm going to do the rest for the wishes. And like I said, I am putting the tiniest of dots. I'm not really even squeezing the glue. I'm just letting it come out on its own. And we'll take that and line it right up where it needs, and then I'll just hold that glue down where I want it to be. That's another reason why it's kind of nice to use the liquid glue instead of the, trying to think what it's called, and I just totally lost it. And I just knocked it all out of off my shelf. The adhesive strips. I had thought about using the adhesive strips, but then I thought, oh my goodness, it is going to be so hard with that little dot on the eye. I'm going to have to use glue anyway. And these are such, beautiful lettering, beautiful font, that I didn't want me being pulling off the adhesive sheets and then finding that I ruined the word. So I'm going to start with that C. Again, just put the tiniest of little dots. It does not need a lot of adhesive. So I'm going to put this C right where I think it should go, that fancy C, and when your fingers are all glued up, it's gonna. The adhesive, Lynn just asked if the adhesive sheets would work. Yes, they would work on this part perfectly, but the dot for the I in both of these words is really tiny, and I'll show you that. And it would work on that, but it's going to be really hard to get that adhesive, the sheet off of the little dot. And I wasn't sure, I didn't want to waste my gold paper. I have an order in for it, but I'm all out except for that little square. That's why it was easy to lose. And so I didn't want to waste my paper and have it not work. But yes, it will work on the words, and it will make it easier to put down. But on the I think you're going to have to put adhesive down no matter what. So again, like I said, I'm using the contours of the card to put my words down. So there's the Christmas. So I've got Christmas wishes now. I knocked over some things in the process. So now I'm going to put a little dot where I want that to go above the words. And I am going to use my tool to get it out. There it is right there. So I don't know, you probably can't see it. It is tiny. And then I'm going to use my take a pick tool and add it to the word. So I use the Christmas one for wishes, but they're both exactly the same. So it doesn't matter. So here's for wishes, and I just want to turn it over so it's the gold side facing up. There we go. And I'll just take my tool again and put it on top of my glue. Make sure it stays there, just so that you can see how tiny that little dot is. I'll show you that. Let me hold it down a little bit. Yeah, see, it's so tiny. Okay, so I'm going to put those aside so I don't forget to put those away. Now what we need to do, because I ran out of time getting ready, we need to cut this little guy out. I'm just going to use my mini cut and emboss machine. I love using it on things that are small because it just fits on my desktop so nicely. So I'm just going to put that in. I keep my cut and emboss sheets right by my workspace, so I'm going to put that aside because there's still some gold I can use. And let's get this out. So this is in the Peace on Earth dies, and that's what it looks like. Give you a chance to see what it, just come down to where the light is a little bit. I'm just going to use a little glue. Now, I just want to show that the wings separate and all the little feathers separate. So when I put my glue on, I'm just going to put it here in the middle because I don't want the glue to seep through to the front. So just a little bit of glue, and now I'm going to take that and I'm going to put this right in the center between the two words. So I'm just going to hold that down. Now, when I looked at this, I thought it was beautiful, but I first tried to take some of the beautiful black and gold twine to try to put a bow on it, but I was going everywhere. I just couldn't find a place, even looking up here at the top. Well, I didn't look there. That doesn't look bad, so maybe. But I then looked through what I had for gold, and I found these are flower accents, and if you look really closely, they do have flowers on them, but you can't, it's hard to tell. So I'm going to use the tiny ones from this. Just take my hearing aid out, it died. And I am going to put a total of 5. I like to use odd numbers. So I'm going to put 3 right across here at the bottom of this flag, kind of in the corner, this fan part. And then I'm going to take 2 more and I'm going to put it right under the wishes. And what's cool about that is when you open it up, you still see those 2 and the star. So I think I will try this bow, and then I'll have you decide if I need to put a bow on the other one. I didn't think about going to the top of it. And I don't think that, make sure I've got it on the right side. Okay, so what do you think? Bow or no bow? I think they both look good. But that is our, normally do. Let's see if that light makes it better. So, bow or no bow? Anyone have a preference? So that is Fun Fold Friday for tonight. I am so happy with how this card came out, especially when I was having such a problem with it. But I am very happy with how it came out. I'll probably end up putting a bow over here too with the black. And just a beautiful white, black, gold Christmas card. So what do you think? Is this going to be a fold that you're going to try? I hope so. So I'll be back Sunday night. I am using this particular stamp set for Simply Stamping Sunday. And then, of course, I'll be back next Friday for another edition of Fun Fold Friday, where we're going to continue making holiday cards. I might next week, I think what I'm going to do, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I won't say. But I'm either going to do something Thanksgiving-y, a Thanksgiving card, or do something, again, Christmas. So I hope you like this idea. If you make one of these and take a picture of it and put it in the comments, and so that everyone can see what you did. So I hope you have a great weekend. It's up here in the Northeast. It's supposed to be nice tomorrow, but rainy on Sunday. I hope wherever you are, you're getting good weather and enjoying some time outside. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here at 7 o'clock Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday. Good night, everybody.